4 words. Saint Nicholas punched a heretic. Yeah, that's Saint Nicholas, the guy who became Santa Claus, the one in the red suit who judges children based on whether they were naughty or nice. In 325 AD, at the Council of Nicaea, the bishop allegedly walked up to a man named Arius and cloaked him right in the face. Why? Because Arius was teaching that Jesus wasn't actually God, and Nicholas had opinions about that. But here's where it gets interesting. The church isn't even sure this happened. Yet, this one story, whether it's true or not, might be the most important Christmas tale nobody tells anymore. Okay, so the year is 325 AD. Emperor Constantine calls a meeting because Christianity is literally tearing itself apart. The biggest question: is Jesus actually God, or is he just like a really powerful created being? Arius says Jesus is subordinate to God. He was created, he is not eternal, and basically half the church agrees with him. Nicholas, who is like 50 years old at this point, already a bishop, sits there listening to this heresy, and he's upset. He punches Arius square in the face, in front of the emperor, in front of 300 bishops, at the most important theological meeting in Christian history. The bishops, horrified. This is not how you handle theological disagreements. This is an assault in front of the emperor. So Constantine orders Nicholas stripped of his bishop's robes, his vestments taken, his authority revoked. He is thrown into prison. But then the legend takes a turn. According to the story, the night in the cell, Nicholas had a vision. Jesus and Mary appear to him. They don't lecture him. They don't say, "Sorry buddy, you messed up." Instead, they restore his vestments, return his authority, and tell him he is free. The bishops wake up, find Nicholas' robes back on him, realize what happened, and they restore him officially. Now, here's the thing. Historians today, they call this legend unverified legend. It first appears about 1000 years after Nicholas died. There's no record of this punch in any contemporary account from the council. Nothing from the Athanasius who documented the whole thing. Nothing from Eusebius, nothing. But, and this is important, it doesn't matter if the punch is real. Because the fact that Christians told this story for 1000 years, the fact that became the defining image of Saint Nicholas, that tells you everything about what this man represented. The historical Saint Nicholas. Born around 270 AD in a city called Patara in what's now Turkey, wealthy family, Christian, and apparently intense about his faith from day one. When his parents died, he didn't sit on their wealth, he gave it away to the poor, all of it. His most famous act? Here's the one that inspired Santa Claus, and it's way cooler than flying around in a sleigh. 3 poor sisters, no money for dowries. In that time, no dowry meant no marriage. No marriage meant, well, forced prostitution was basically the only option. Nicholas hears about this, and instead of organizing a charity event or making a donation, he does something wild. He sneaks to their house at night and throws bags of gold coins through their window. One version of the story says the coins landed in stockings drying by the fire. Does that sound familiar? This is where Santa Claus comes from. Not from the North Pole, not from Coca-Cola in the 1930s, from a 4th century Turkish bishop who was literally an anti-trafficking activist. But Nicholas wasn't just sneaking around at night, he was a political activist. When Emperor Diocletian started persecuting Christians, imprisoning them, torturing them, executing them, Nicholas was arrested too. For years, they tortured him, they starved him, they did everything to make him deny his faith. But he didn't, he refused. When Constantine finally legalized Christianity, Nicholas was released, and that's when the Council of Nicaea happened, which brings us back to the punch. Whether Nicholas actually punched Arius or not, historians disagree. What that story reveals is this: Saint Nicholas was not a safe person, he was not comfortable, he was not polite. He was willing to throw hands, literally or figuratively, for what he believed was the truth about Jesus. Fast forward, Nicholas became one of the most beloved saints in Christianity. Thousands of churches named after him, devotion across all of Europe. Then something happened. The Dutch colonists in America kept the tradition. They called him Sinterklaas, anglicized it to Santa Claus, and they mixed it with the Nordic folklore about a magical gift giver. Then, in 1823, a poem called A Visit from the Saint Nicholas painted him as a jolly elf with a twinkle in his eye. And then, in 1930s, Coca-Cola standardized the red suit, made him jolly, made him commercial, made him safe. We took a man who punched heretics, who gave away his entire fortune, who spent years in prison for his faith, who was literally tortured for refusing to deny Jesus. And we turned him into someone who encourages shopping, who judges children on arbitrary behavioral standards, who show up in malls so influencers can film cute videos. If the real Saint Nicholas, the one who fought heresy, the one who saved women from trafficking, the one who stood up to the emperors, if he saw what we have done to his story, he'd probably punch something. Look, I'm not saying you shouldn't celebrate Santa with your family. Christmas is beautiful. Giving gifts is beautiful. That's literally what Nicholas was about. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that Christmas, the thing we are actually celebrating, is about a God who became human, who lived a radical life, who attracted followers willing to die for him, and we replaced that story with a story about shopping. Saint Nicholas' feast day is December 6th, not Christmas. December 6th, and in a lot of European countries, they still remember that date. They still celebrate him. They still tell the story of the bishop who took on heresy, who saved women from trafficking, who refused to compromise. And the kids, they put their shoes out of the night before, and Saint Nicholas fills them with chocolates and coins. Not because of consumerism, but because those coins represent the dowries, the freedom, the dignity he gave to 3 girls. So here's the invitation. This Advent season, the season of waiting before Christmas, what if we actually waited? What if we actually prepared spiritually instead of just preparing shopping lists? What if we remember that the reason we celebrate Christmas is because someone, Jesus, lived so radically, so authentically, so willing to challenge the powers of his time that it changed everything? And what if that's the kind of faith we actually build our lives around? Not convenient, not comfortable, but real. Because that's what Saint Nicholas was about. That's what Christmas is actually about. Even if the punch may have been legend. But here's what I have noticed. Most people will never hear this story. They will keep celebrating Santa without ever knowing the saint. They will hear jolly and never hear prosecuted. They will think gift giver and never think activist. And that's because real stories, complicated stories, messy stories, stories about people who actually stood for something, those don't get as much as attention as a Coca-Cola Christmas ads. The algorithm doesn't care about truth, it cares about engagement, and engagement gets rewarded. So, if you actually think stories like this deserve to be heard, if you want to know more about the saints who punched heretics, popes who made controversial decisions, and the actual history behind what we believe, that's what this channel is for. I created Catholic Sapiens because I was tired of two things: boring Catholic content that puts you to sleep, and clickbait Catholic content that disrespects the faith. I wanted to make videos that are actually worth watching. Fast, honest, funny sometimes, but always rooted in the real theology and real history. So hit the like button if the story surprised you, if you learned something, if you want Saint Nicholas canonization stories, not Santa Claus mythology, and if you want more of this, more saints, more mysteries, more wait, the church actually did this. Subscribe, it's free, and honestly, the algorithm rewards it. More subscriber is equal to more people see this content, is equal to more people remember the real stories. And hey, if you're Catholic and you have been curious about the church but everything feels either too boring or too dramatic, you are in the right place. This is Catholic Sapiens. We do faith for people who actually think. See you next time, and remember, Saint Nicholas would want you thinking critically. He would want you asking questions. He definitely wouldn't want you just buying stuff mindlessly. Be like Nicholas. Fight for what actually matters.